Hello guys, welcome back to another episode of Android application development tutorial. In the previous episode we already learned about how to use a contextual action mode with an individual Android view component. Now in this episode we are going to learn about how to use the contextual action mode with a list of items like a list view or a grid view. So here we have a list view is available. So whenever user make a long press on any of these list view item, we have to display the contextual action bar. So here I am going to demonstrate how to display a contextual action bar for this list view and how to delete multiple items from this list view using the contextual action bar. So if you want to display the contextual action mode for a list view, you have to do two steps. The first step is you have to set some choice mode for the list view. You have to set the choice mode into choice mode multiple model, and you have to implement an interface called multi-choice mode listener. So if you implement the multi-choice mode listener for a list view, that particular interface will give you all the callback method for displaying a contextual action mode. So the first thing, we have to add some menu. We have to create a menu XML file. So go to the menu folder, right click the menu folder and create a new menu resource file, and here I name it as my menu and click OK. So for adding the menu items we need some icons. So here I am going to add two icons. The first icon is for delete option and the second icon is for share option. So I copy these two icons and paste it in the drawable folder. Put the two icons in the drawable mtpi folder. Okay, now we have the two icons available on the drawable folder. Now we can add the items. So here I am going to add the first item. First you have to provide an ID for this item using Android ID attribute. I name it as ID delete. Now you have to set some title for this item using title attribute. It is delete. Okay, and finally you have to set some icon for this item. Icon is available on the drawable folder and the icon name is IC action discard. Okay, now here I am going to add one more item. So copy this one, change the ID into ID share, change the title into share, also change the icon name. The icon is IC action share. Okay, now we have the menu XML file. Now go to the main activity.java file. So here is the list view object. Here the adapter name is adapter, and here the data provider is a list, is an array list called data provider. Okay, so for displaying a contextual action mode for a list view, first you have to set the choice mode for the list view. So list view dot set choice mode, and set the choice mode as choice mode multiple model. This one, abs list view dot choice mode multiple model. Use this one. Okay, now we have to implement the multi-choice mode listener for this list view. So list view dot set multi-choice mode listener. So this interface gives you all the callback methods for creating the contextual action mode. Here is the on create action mode method, and here is on prepare action mode, and here is on action item clicked, and final one is on destroy action mode. Also we get another method called on item checked state change. This method will invoke each time when user select or unselect an item on the list view. Okay, so now we have to create the contextual action mode on the list view. So you can create the contextual action mode on this method called on create action mode. So for inflating that particular menu XML file, we need an object of menu inflator. I name it as menu inflator and get menu inflator. Okay, now using the menu inflator object and call the inflate object inflate method. First you have to specify the menu XML file r.menu. Our XML file name is my menu, and the second argument is the menu object. So pass the menu object and return true. So now when user make a long press on any of the list item, the contextual action mode will appear, and the contextual action bar contain two options. First one is the delete and second one is the share icon. So we can check it out. Now I am going to run the application. Okay, now here I am going to make a long press on any of these list items. So I make a long press. Now here we have the contextual action mode that contain two items, the delete option and the share option. So you can close this contextual action mode by selecting this option, this back button, or you can hide the contextual action mode by simply press the back button available on your device. Okay, so now we have to delete some list of items from this list view using the contextual action mode. So user can select multiple items, and whenever user select the delete option, we have to delete the selected items. Okay, that is that is our target. So now we have to save the selections. So for saving the selections, here I am going to add another list. I name it as selections equal to new array list. So whenever user select an item, this method will invoke on item checked state change. This method will invoke, and here there are some arguments called action mode object, position, and long id and a boolean. If the option is selected for the first time, this boolean will true, and if the user unselect the item, this will be false. Okay, so if the user select the item, we have to save that particular item into this array list called selections. Okay, so we have to check it out. If that particular option is selected, that means the boolean is true. If it is true, we have to save the selections. So selections dot add, and we have to get the item from the array list called the data provider. So data provider dot get and use the position argument. Okay, so if the user select an item, that particular item is saved into this array list called the selections. Okay, also we have to set some title on this contextual action bar. If the user select an item, we have to put some title called one item is selected or two item is selected, like that. So for counting the selections, we have to declare another variable here. So here I am going to declare another variable int count equal to 0. Okay, so whenever user select an item, we have to increment the value of count by 1, count plus plus. And if in the case of user unselect that particular item, that means user untick that item, we have to remove that particular item from the selections, from the array list called the selections. So else selections dot remove data provider dot get position. Okay, in that case, that particular item is removed from the array list called selections. Okay, also in that case we have to decrement the count by 1, count minus minus. Okay, so if user select an item, we have to set the title into, if the user select for the first time, we have to set the title into 1 selected, and if the user select another item, we have to set the title into 2 item is selected. Okay, so for that we can use that object called action mode. So by using the action mode object, we can set the title mode dot set title. First we have to display the count. So count selected. Okay, and if the user uncheck an item, we have to decrement the count and we have to change the title into that particular number of item is actually selected. Okay, so after user select an item, if the user may press the back button, or user may close the action mode. In that case, we have to reset that particular two variables. We have to reset the values available on the variable called the count. Also, we have to remove all the variables, all the values available on this array list called the selections. That is the next step. So whenever each time when you close the contextual action bar, this method will invoke on destroy action mode. This method will invoke. So here we have to reset the variable count into 0. Also we have to clear that particular array list. Okay, so after making the selection, user want to delete that particular item. So if user select an option from the action mode, this method will invoke on action item clicked. This method will invoke. So here we have to make the delete operation. So first we have to find out which option is actually selected by the user. We can find it out using the menu item object. So if the item dot get item id equal to r dot id dot, if it is equal to delete button, in that case we have to delete that particular selected items from the array list called the data provider. Actually the array list data provider will provide the data for this list view. So we have to delete the selected item from the array list called the data provider. So in that case we have to remove all the items from the data provider. So here I use a for each loop. So here I use objects. It's a string value, string item, and here the array list is selections. Yeah, this is not possible. Instead of string, here I use object. Okay, so now we have to remove each item from the data provider. So before, I have to get the string from the object item, string item equal to item dot to string, convert that one into string. Now we have to remove this string from the array list called the selections, sorry, data provider. So data provider dot remove, that particular object name is item. Okay, so now all the selected items are removed from the array list called the data provider. So now the data set is actually changed. Now we have to inform the array adapters that there is some data changes occur. So adapter, call the method called adapter dot notify data set change. This will recreate the list view again. Okay, so after finishing all these things, we have to close the action mode. So mod dot finish. Okay. Okay, now we can check the project. So now I am going to run the application again. Okay, now we have the application available on the virtual device. Now I make a long press on an item. Now you can see here on the contextual action mode the title is one item is selected. Actually we select the first item. Of course you have to highlight the selected item by changing the background color, or you can use a checkbox with this list of items. So here we don't have a checkbox, or we are not put any code to highlight the selected items. Okay, anyway, here I select the first item cupcake. Now I select the second item donut. So here now the title is two item is selected. Now I make enter selection eclair. So now the three item is selected. So now I am going to unselect an item from this list. So here I am going to uncheck the donut. So now only two item is selected. So now I am going to delete these two items cupcake and eclair, because these two items are now selected. So select the delete button. There is some errors on our code, we have to check it out. Yeah, this is mistake because we put these two statement on the for each loop, that's why the error is occur. So I remove these two segments and put it outside the for each loop. Also we have to return true here. Okay, we can check it out again, run the application again. Okay, so here I am going to make a long press. Now the action mode is appear, one item is selected. Now I select the second item, two item is selected, select the third item, three item is selected. So now I select the first four items. Now I unselect the last item, I uncheck the last item. Now only three item is selected. Now click the delete button. Now you can see that three item is removed from the list view. So now I am going to select the last two items. So one item is selected. Now the last item is selected. Now I make another selection. Now I select jelly bean also. Now I remove jelly bean. Now only two item is selected, which is Kit Kat and lollipop. Now click the delete button. Now you can see that particular two item is removed from the list view. I hope you enjoy this video. If you are a new visitor for my channel, please subscribe my channel for getting more video updates on my Android tutorial series. Thank you for watching. See you in the next episode.